Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of LAB GAB. This is a continuing series of podcasts where I am hosting, David Avery, I'm hosting various people in our industry, really trying to bring interesting folks with things to share from the bench and from leadership and management laboratories. And I really appreciate SSY making all of this possible. We've had a pretty good variety of guests across the spectrum as far as technology and business management and so forth. So today I'm really excited to have two of my young proteges and rising stars in our industry. Blake Barksdale, the son of Betty and Steve Barksdale, Barksdale Laboratory in Huntsville, Alabama, Space City. And Blake is an extremely bright young man, extremely digitally inclined, and is everywhere now on chat boards and on programs and on panels, and is really creating quite an impact in our industry. Very, very progressive laboratory. And of course, Blake is leading the charge with the digital space. And then of course, Kenny Hughes, and Kenny joins us from Premier Dental Arts in Kingsport, Tennessee. Another client of mine and dear friends of mine that I've worked with now for several years. And Kenny is a very, very bright young man, builds computers for fun, just extremely gifted in this space. And he's been at this for a while now and has really been able to figure some things out just like Blake has. So I'm excited to have them with us today and to share some of their insights with you and just bring you to their awareness because they're out there on chat boards and various activities within the digital lab space. So I hope going forward you'll have an opportunity to interact with them or perhaps meet them personally someday when we get back to live meetings. Blake, if you don't mind, if you'd begin, would you give us a little bit about your background?
Yes, sir. Hi, I'm Blake Barksdale, dental lab technician for 18 years now. I am now the general manager of Barksdale Dental Lab, and I have been in management here for about 5 years, but been a bench technician for all 18 years. And what's different about me is I manage from the hip. I put myself on the bench every day and work with these guys in the trenches. So we get a lot of respect in this area. But we have been around since 1985 and have grown from a one-man laboratory now to 102 people. And so we do everything in-house from partials to removables, digitally, traditionally, absolutely everything you can think of. The only thing we don't do is clear aligners.
Thank you, Blake. Appreciate that, buddy. Kenny, tell us a little about yourself.
Hey guys, my name's Kenny Hughes. I work at Premier Dental Arts and I've been a dental technician for almost 5 years. I started doing model work and then got into management and into our leadership team. And we have been a full service lab since I began. And our owner, Billy Goddard, he is very, very advantageous in this market because he really looks into digital, all into CAD CAM. We have several mills. We have a very nice 3D printer. And we accept all intraoral scans, and we have all design softwares to do whatever we need to do.
Thank you, Kenny. Appreciate that. And I will say too, having worked with both these laboratories, they are not only excellent dental laboratories, but they're really, really fine people, great people to be associated with. So I'd like to begin with the mill space, and because Kenny was the initial investigator of SS White's Duradie diamond-coated carbides for Roland at that time in particular, I'd like for Kenny to talk a little bit about his experience with that and the performance of that product.
Yeah, so since I started in dental, we had barely a 4-axis mill, and we have been changing burr companies one after one after one. We get defect burrs. They were poorly coated. The coating would be just chipping, and that would just wind up just destroying, like 20 or 25 millimeter discs of zirconia on its own. So we've gone pretty far from having defective units, a lot of headache, and changing between many different manufacturers, getting many different prices, a lot of inconsistency. And we finally fail on the Duradie burrs. And since we started using those, we found a lot of benefit to it. We have reduced like our connector size down to 1.1 millimeters in both our Roland 52 and our motion tube. And so that saves plenty of time on its own, even when, of course, cutting them out and everything. And it also helps with undercuts as well, because the smaller connectors that burr can get around those connectors and just remove that undercut as it's going. But so yeah, we started out with Duradie burrs in the Roland, and progressively they just kept getting better and better and better. We kept seeing better and better results until we had burrs that were lasting about 65 hours for a 2 millimeter. So, and actually towards the end of our testing, we got put into a predicament. So in our Hyperdent software, we were forced to update. When that happened, we lost a custom strategy that was given to us from Follow Me Group. So that strategy from Follow Me Group, it let the 2 millimeter and 1 millimeter just work just right beside each other. They would be splitting 50% of the milling. So the burrs we were using at that time would last about a week. So when we lost that strategy, we were using about 28 burrs a month, 2 millimeters. So we were wasting money left and right. So I got more of those Duradie burrs, and then we wound up with a very, very safe strategy. Takes a little more time, but we're getting way better results instead of wasting 28 burrs a month.
That's an excellent point. Excellent point. Very good. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
When are you going to give me some of those for my mill?
You need them, man.
I got your samples, and I appreciate it. We're going to shoot them up to the engineers and see how close we can get to providing something for that. Currently, we got those burrs for Roland, for Veland, and for Amann Girrbach. Once Amann Girrbach's warranty is out, you're free to use whatever you choose. And yeah, we've been getting fantastic feedback, and thank you for sharing that, Kenny.
You're welcome.
Blake, you want to talk a little bit about the mill space? Whatever you feel is valuable.
Yeah, well, so mainly just like what Kenny was talking about, a lot of people try to jump into the mill space and just overnight try to become a cam technician, and that's a really pricey game to play because you really start jumping into spending a lot of money really quickly with zirconia and burrs and things like that. If you're not really in touch and in tune with your strategies and the support that you're getting from your company, you're going to spend a lot of money. And so I would encourage everybody that's watching this to call support and jump into some fine-tuned strategies, especially for hybrid milling. It's not something you want to attempt doing with 3-axis finishing +1 or 3-axis finishing +2 just on its own. You want to, especially with Hyperdent, you want to use what's called user-defined areas and really get into your embrasures and fine-tune your implant direction, positions, and everything. It's very important, and it's important that you don't try to rush it. If you spend 3 hours milling a hybrid and you don't have to do hardly any green state finishing to it, you've really saved yourself a lot of your time, and you've saved yourself a lot of your money on your labor that you would be spending on green stating hybrid zirconia like that.
Yeah, a lot of detail. That's been the biggest change I've seen in the last 2 years, is the amount of work that's being done in the green state on those cases is significant now, to the point that we're not doing very much at all once it's centered, which is the safest thing to do with the material.
And along with jack wheels and the brushes that you guys offer, that's helped us substantially on our green state finishing. As we're taking very smooth surfaces, and once they come out of the centering oven, they're pretty much ready to go.
Yeah, I'm really pleased with the product line that SS White has put together in this space. Now, the Jazz contouring stones and the wheels that we've developed for contouring zirconia, want to talk a little bit about those? I know you played with that as well.
Yes, sir. I'm particularly impressed with a lot of the large yellow stone. I have gone through so many different stones and diamonds trying to cut sprues off of Emax and finishing little rough surfaces down. And that Jazz stone that we have has been substantial. And I've opened up one probably 2 weeks ago, and I measured it. I've probably lost 1.5 millimeters. I use it all day, every day, cutting things down. These burrs are a little more pricey, but what you're saving on your labor and the length of this product is substantial. And it's by far one of the best things I've used in my laboratory.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, I'm all about value quotient, and everybody that knows me that I've interacted with or consulted with or articles that I've written, it's always about the value of the product. Prices, nothing to pay attention to if you don't get the return. So thank you for that comment. I really appreciate it. So let's talk a little bit about selective laser melting. That's just, in my mind, it's really the hottest thing in the industry right now. The SLM technology that was out there up until a year or two ago, it's $1 million machine. Then literally requires an engineer to run it and maintain it because it's such sophisticated technology. But just like everything else that we've had come into the space, competition and miniaturization have taken place, and now we're starting to see desktop units. The one that's going to be coming into your lab, Blake, why don't you talk a little bit about that?
So I've been talking to Proto 3000, and they have a couple of different options right now. They have desktop metal they've been working with, and also IMUS. And there is a brand new unit. Is called the To Create Lab. It's tocreatelab.com. It's one of the first of its kind that I've seen. It's the very first compact unit. It's only about as big as a big boy milling machine. Now, a lot of these SLM printers are as big as 2 double wide refrigerators. And I remember in Providence, Rhode Island, when I went in 2014 to visit Bago and learn a little bit about wax and partials, I saw the very first time I've ever seen an SLM printer there. And it was giant. It took up half of a room. And I figured that this is the way this was going to go. But right now you have that one and the one from Zact Metal, which is the next compact unit, and these are under $250,000. One of them is around 150, the other one's around 210. And I think we're going to continue to see this drop in the price and the raise in technology, just the way we've done with mills. I remember when we got the very first IMUS mill, when they were partnered with Wheelan and 3Shape, just doing zirconia copings. That mill was huge, and it cost about $130,000, and you have to put 2 poles through it and walk it out like it's the Ark of the Covenant, because it weighed about 700 or 800 pounds. That thing's sitting in one of my connexes right now like a big anchor. We got 12 years of use out of it. It was a good machine. But this is the next
expensive boat.
Yeah.
It's an expensive boat anchor.
But,
I've been watching this. I've been watching this technology the whole time, and it was obvious that it was coming. Blake, in your laboratory, you're doing your own frameworks, and I think that's your interest really as much as anything, is being able to print RPDs. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. And eventually I would like to explore the space of printing some titanium hybrid bars. I don't want to do anything direct to interface. I want to do everything over MUA as the FDA is concerned there.
Yes.
But there's a lot of cool things happen, especially with the way that if you print correctly, you can have a lot of stippling into your titanium. Acrylic is going to bond a lot better to that stippling. As you know, with what we do with opaque and things, whenever we have to opaque frames or bars or anything like that, it just creates a better bond to the acrylic. The other thing, so with the partial frames, we've done a lot of print to cast. We're printing resins and casting. There's always a variable of error when you're using investment. But when we're printing metal now, it's 1-to-1, just like it is in a mill. And we're having a lot more accurate results. I've sent samples to probably 4 or 5 different metal printing companies now. They've all pleased me. Everybody's really doing a great job of what this is now. I'm really excited to see what Desktop Metal does with the binder jet printing, because it's a little different technology from what I understand in SLM. But I don't see this stopping anytime soon, and we're going to start seeing mass production of D-light machines and dry electropolishers, and getting away from acid electropolishing. as that's also safer inside the laboratory. This is the new wave of the future. And if you want to be really good and successful in dentistry now, you need to get good at the things that a lot of people are not good at, like hybrids and implants and partials and removables. Because the single crown business is, everybody can do it now. It's kind of a dime a dozen. And right now it's who can be best at what this new stuff is.
Absolutely. I'm convinced that it's going to catch on very, very quickly. I think the adaptation is going to be quicker than anything we've seen because it's affordable now. It's always been the problem is it's so expensive that you'd have to charge $1,000 for a framework to make the numbers work. So that's good. Thank you for that insight. Kenny?
What for just partials, for 3D printing partials?
Well, for PFM frameworks and everything else,
Yeah.
and I don't know if you're paying much attention to this or not, but you do a lot of ceramo metal still in your laboratory.
Yeah, we do too.
So we use for single unit copings, whether it is semi-precious or non-precious, we send it to Argon, just design it, send it to Argon, and then let them use a Platinum Plus or non-precious, and then we just finish them, opaque them, and send them down. But for bridges, we do in-house.
Platinum Plus is very difficult to cast. I remember when I was still in the area and working with you guys on that. I was there when you made the decision to not put that in investment anymore.
Yeah.
It's very, very unpredictable.
Yeah. It greens really fast. It greens really fast. It's got a lot of oxygen.
Yes, it does. Yeah, that's a funky oxide. It's like mold.
Well, that material.
Okay, guys. So, I'm sorry.
So that material is technique sensitive. Marlon God's got a way of doing that you showed me. It's pretty good, but I don't like casting that stuff either.
It's always an adventure. We wanted to kind of have a rapid fire discussion at the end here. We want to talk about artificial intelligence. I think that's another thing that's on everybody's mind. We hear AI, a dozen times a day if I hear it once. So I'd like for both of you to close with some commentary on AI and where you think we are with that. Blake, would you like to begin?
Yeah, so we've been using 3Shape Automate for a little over a year now, and we have a 93% success rate the last I checked, and we're doing somewhere around 1,800 crowns a month with 3Shape Automate. And it's just like I was saying before, the single crown business is changing. I don't really see it value to me to pay my technicians to do single crowns and designs when they can be designing bridges and dentures and partials and night guards and things that are far more valuable, in my opinion. But we've had a lot of success with this. There's a couple of things you don't want to do. You don't want to send not ideal cases to AI, because not ideal, the computer just can't compute it correctly. There's some things that they've been able to get close to. So like for terminal molars, if there's not an opposing, I'd rather design that myself because I know I can get it in the plane of occlusion that I want it to be in. Bicuspids, haven't really had the greatest success with bicuspids, but everybody likes their crowns differently. So it's kind of a tomato thing. Now, night guards, I don't think it's there yet, but once again, everybody does night guards a little differently. What we like is extended borders past the gingival on the lingual. We don't like that on the buccal. And what I've seen from 3Shape Automate is it's all kind of hovered around the height of contour on the teeth, and that's just not the way that we do night guards here. So once again, it's just a little different. Also, I don't think the computer can calculate correctly the posterior disocclusion with your anterior guidance. It's almost there, but you still have to do a lot of spotting in. But I can get one of my guys to design a night guard in about 5 minutes, and all we have to do is pumice and polish it.
Nice. Very
when
nice.
It comes to dentures and partials, it's a while before we get there. There's a lot of intricacies there.
Yeah, and I think we've not had as much redundancy in those spaces as we have on posterior crowns, quite simply. We just don't have the data yet, but I think that's going to be a matter of time as well. Kenny, what are your thoughts on this? Tell us what you're thinking about AI, what you're seeing.
Yeah, I'm completely with Blake on 3Shape Automate for crowns, even side-by-side crowns or night guards. It's not 100% there. We've only sent like one night guard out and it had a hole in it, and we're like, okay, let's just wait a few months before we send another out. So so I've been thinking about where I want to see AI in the future. So let's say that an office sends you a digital case. What if that digital case already comes with a crown designed on it? You just shoot it all. Even if the models aren't printed, you can design the models, or just send, maybe an AI will be able to do that in the future, but you can literally just send it all to CAM and you've basically saved so much time and money. It's just a no-brainer to use AI in this business and in most businesses.
Right. Yeah, and the more we feed it, it's like Jim Gladwell said 5 years ago that eventually he wouldn't need technicians for the process because he's done so many cases. I mean, he's done millions now. And so he builds his own software and his own systems for everything. And so I bet I would say it's safe to say that his AI for that space for designing is significantly more sophisticated just based on volume. Great. Kenny, thank you for that, buddy.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I had one of my
Thank you so
technicians come up to me and he asked me, he's like, do we not use SS White? And I said, we use it for some things. He's like, this is the only lab I've been in that doesn't use SS White. So it's not that unheard of.
Well, as I've been traveling around the country and visiting labs, I just walk in and because I'm friends with so many people. I walk in, I go, where do you keep your burrs? And they'll open the cabinet, open the drawers, and there's SS White everywhere. They don't realize it. They don't give it any thought because it's a carbide. But the new products that we've got that we're using in the zirconia space is really raising the profile significantly.
Yeah, fantastic.
And I do really appreciate both of you young men. It excites me to be associated with people like you. The industry has a very bright future. And today, ladies and gentlemen, you have met two of the people that I know that are going to lead us forward in this space and contribute a lot to our industry. So I thank you so much for being with me today, Blake and Kenny. I can't thank you enough, and I hope everyone gets some real meat out of this. We'll be following this up. When this is edited, you will have Kenny and Blake's email address and contact information for any follow-up discussions to reach out and connect with these guys. And as always, thank you, SS White.
Appreciate y'all.